And that takes us into inviting our guest of honor this evening to address you all. He has held various positions within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Japanese government in charge of free trade agreement, sustainable development goals, and sustaining peace efforts, among others. His previous foreign postings include the Embassy of Japan in the United States of America and the Embassy of Japan in the People's Republic of China. He holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Tokyo and a Master of Arts degree from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences at Harvard University. He has also studied at the Faculty of History and Faculty of Law at the Peking University. He has lectured at various universities in Japan and the United States and is a frequent speaker at policy events around the globe. It's my pleasure inviting our guest of honor, Mr. Kotaro Katsuki. He is the Minister and Deputy Head of Mission at the Japanese Embassy in Sri Lanka.
Chief Guest Dr. Nandara Widasinghe, Governor of the Central Bank, Mr. Anura Siriwardana, Chairman of the Global CEO Forum, distinguished speakers, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to be here. I've been listening to fascinating stories during the past 3 hours. And it seems to be a CEO, you have to cope with whatever crisis. You have to be inclusive in the way you work. You have to keep up with recent technologies like AI and everything. And also I think Maruti Suzuki, President was mentioning that the CEO has to be prepared 24/7. I cannot think of any other job that is more challenging. So I'm very fortunate that I'm not a CEO myself. So that's my takeaway. So today I'm here more of a learning mode rather than sharing my views. But still, I think I'd like to share some of the reflections that I'm feeling while listening to the fantastic stories. So on the first half of the leadership in turbulent times, I think there are certain aspects that all the speakers were touching upon, and to make sure that your staff will be with you to make difficult decisions and other things. But one of the things I have learned in the past, especially from a mentor, he was telling me a good CEO is a person who takes good care of the shareholders. A better CEO is a person who takes good care of the customers. But the best CEO is a person who takes good care of their employees. I'm not sure if that is true, but that seems to have its truth. The other thing, when I was working in the headquarters promoting sustainable development and business, one of the findings was that Japanese business tend to be sustainable. If you look at companies who have lasted 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, even longer, we have found out that in most categories, Germany is also very good, but in most of the categories, the number of companies, long-lasting companies, tend to be in Japan. And I think when we looked into the reasons of that, one of the features of Japanese business might be one of the secrets. And in Japanese we say "sampo yoshi." If we translate it into English, it's very difficult, but something like good for 3 sides. And what it is that firstly, doing a business, it has to be good for yourself, the company that is doing business by themselves. Then secondly, it has to be good for your, the person you are doing business with. That person has to be good. But also, that's not sufficient. It has also to be good for the community surrounding the business that you are doing. So most typically, that will be doing something good for the region that you are operating in. And I think these features kind of highlight, more, it won't be too much opportunistic. Rather, you'll try to share whatever revenue or income or whatever value that you create, and try to share it among not by yourself, but with as many people as possible. So listening to the fascinating stories, it seems I'm kind of reaffirming some of the points that I just mentioned, and it seems it's also very applicable, especially among the successful CEOs who are gracing this event today. And then on the second half, the way ahead of business, already we have heard about education, AI, and then empathy, and also I think the Brandix approach to most recent business. In the context of Sri Lanka, I must say, well, governor is here, so he will give a better view of the current situation. But I think at this moment, the outstanding task is to get the debt restructuring, completed. Because once that is achieved, then the sovereign ratings of the country will go up, and then the financing, access to finance will be much easier. So I think in the short term, to restructure the debt is absolutely necessary. And for that, well, Japan is working very closely with Sri Lanka and also other government creditors. So in the coming day or so, we are planning to have a meeting in Paris to discuss about the way forward. And hopefully, so very soon, sooner rather than later, we will see a good milestone achieved. And hopefully that will give a lot of confidence in doing business in Sri Lanka. And then, so once the debt is restructured, I think trade and investment will resume very strongly. And our embassy also has been focusing most of our attention during this year on that. So once the debt is restructured, how we can increase and enhance trade and investment. And and one thing, well, we are doing a lot of planning, but one thing we are asking on the side of the Sri Lankan government is to improve the business environment. I think listening to the CEOs here, since they can cope with whatever difficulties, it might not be too much of an issue. But listening carefully to our Japanese companies operating here, I think one of the things that we hear is that the procedures take a very long time, and also as time goes by, policy changes quite frequently. So it's very hard to kind of plan ahead and execute as planned. So to come up with a more kind of stable and friendly business environment, I think would be absolutely crucial to enhance trade and investment once the debt is restructured. So hopefully the reforms that the government is working upon is, I think, heading to that direction. So we would like to work closely with the government and to facilitate that process to the extent possible. And then on specific areas, there are many. And it seems Ichi, the president, during his speech in New York just hours ago, he's emphasizing the importance of the low-hanging fruit, that is tourism, that's of course. But then I think agriculture and aiming towards a higher technology agriculture. That is also very much understandable. Apart from that, I think from the Japanese viewpoint, we think renewable energy is a very promising area for Sri Lanka. And last year, we signed a MOU with Sri Lanka on joint crediting mechanism, which basically is Japanese government will pay up to 50% of the project money for a joint venture Sri Lankan company utilizing Japanese technology to mitigate and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And hopefully this will, and we are just about to establish a joint committee to approve projects that will be applied. So we are looking forward to, facilitating Japanese and Sri Lankan companies working together to work on renewable energy projects all around the island. So we would try to work on that front. And then with the viewpoint of the mid to longer term, one thing is, I think, also the managing director of Brandix also touched upon, I think, like free trade arrangements, that's also very important. And for that, we are very much aware that the president is advocating, for free trade agreements. And in the future, he also mentions about joining RCEP, which is ASEAN 10 countries, together with Japan, Korea, China, Australia, New Zealand, 15-country free trade agreement, which, if does happen, will integrate Sri Lanka into this global or regional value chain, and also will facilitate market access into emerging markets right around, very close to Sri Lanka. So if that is the policy direction of the government of Sri Lanka, then Japan is ready to help, work along those lines. This is very important, I think, and hopefully that will move forward. And lastly, on the financing side, I think that was also touched upon by the previous speaker. When we were working on sustainable business, so basically what our government tried to do was to work closely with our business community to really benefit from the ESG investing movement, because basically, as I kind of briefly explained to you, Japanese business is the attitude is a very kind of sustainable one, and so I think if Japanese business do well, they will be able to unlock a lot of the ESG investing money in their favor. Especially, this will happen typically for a listed company who have their stocks on the market. That will be directly bringing in the ESG money into their favor. But also in Japan, 99% of our companies are SMEs, and they are scattered all around the country. And most of them are not listed companies. So what we tried to do was to work closely with the local financial institutions, and they would be part of that ESG movement, and to approach them and the local governments to give incentive for them to lend favorably to SMEs, especially who are taking a sustainable posture in their core business. And we are already starting that kind of scheme in Japan. And well, of course, COVID and all these things. So, I think it will take a little bit more time to really go in scale. But especially in this time of difficulties like COVID or the financial crisis that is hitting Sri Lanka, to take care of the SME sector, which in this country also, from what I know, is absorbing a lot of the population. So to address that area would be crucial. And I think what the government is trying to do is to aim at a more sustainable posture as you revitalize the economy. So hopefully, if that is done very well, in an orderly manner, then that will help businesses operating in Sri Lanka to access a lot of that, the trillions of money that will come flowing in through the ESG investing movement. So these are some of the reflections that I had listening, and I'm more than happy that to learn from Dr. Nandarao's how he sees the economy right now and the way forward. But also there'll be a panel discussion, so I'd be delighted to learn more. And also, so many people. We are just sitting here, so I think hopefully we can do a little bit of mingling later on with some drinks at our hands. So thank you very much for your kind attention.